We are live. Welcome to my review of Eyes of Wakanda, the 2025 Disney Plus MCU animated show. The only spoilers in this video will be for stuff leading up to, not including this particular addition to the MCU. And yeah, the show is rated TV-14, so will this video be. And yeah, I love this show. So, basically, the idea here, there are 4 episodes of this and 1 season, and basically it's anthology. They are stories set at different points in human history that have some significance, and we're seeing how Wakanda was secretly involved in these particular things. We're told in the first movie that Wakanda has been around for, like throughout human history. We haven't, before this one, seen a lot of what they did before the movie Civil War, so yeah. And this goes pretty far back. I don't know if I want to give away exactly how far, but yeah. And yeah, let's see. One of the strengths of anthology stories is that it is very much this like short little slice, in and out, kind of adventure. It doesn't, and right, you don't expect a lot of like, other than Wakanda and the concept of war dogs and some of the lore. This doesn't really tie in to other MCU in a very direct, overt way. I will, yeah. I know I say this for every single one, but I do think it bears repeating. Yeah, this could be the first MCU thing you watch. If you heard of Eyes of Wakanda, I don't know how you would have, because they're not advertising it that much, and you're like, that sounds cool. Yeah, you can watch these 4 episodes, you'll be fine. There's going to be a couple of things where to get to get more out of it, you may want to, that's the thing with the MCU. Once you start pulling on that string, you're going to want to watch more, but I mean, if you watch the 4 episodes of this and you're like, there's a couple of things that you weren't sure how they, what exactly does this and that thing mean, I'd say if you watch the first Black Panther solo film, you'll understand each, everything of this that is, yeah. Let's there's perhaps one thing, but there is one thing in this show that is not explained by that movie, but that thing is not really explained elsewhere in MCU movies anyway. It's yeah. Anyway, and the yeah, with an anthology, obviously it's important that each story like really makes an impact, because we might not see these characters ever again, so it might be your only chance of getting us invested in a story with these characters, where, like, sometimes you'll have some of the movies or episodes of the TV shows, or episodes of the shows in general, there might be 1 or 2 times where it's like, that character wasn't that engaging. They'll show up in something else, and I already know from their first appearance that I care about them, something like that. But yeah, I think it was a good idea to make an anthology, to not have it tie too overtly in, because these are stories from before Wakanda, from before the first Black Panther movie, and it was only at the end of that one that they opened up Wakanda to outsiders. So these are all stories about Wakanda doing. I already mentioned it was stuff that nobody else in the world realized they were doing, and yeah, the stuff they're doing is usually to protect the secrets of Wakanda. So yeah, we're seeing these war dog missions, and yeah, I think that was a really clever. There was a while where we weren't sure exactly what were they gonna do with this show. I heard rumors there was gonna be just like day-to-day stories set in Wakanda or something centered on Nando V Movies, or the Nando Cut. One of his channels just did a video um, on this show. It doesn't have spoilers, so you can watch that one. Not for this show, I mean. It doesn't have spoilers for this show. And he points out, there was a while where we were thinking, is it going to be about the Dora Milaje, about Okoye maybe? But I think they landed on a really clever way to tell more stories of Wakanda. So, the psychological accuracy, authenticity, and level of detail are all quite high. And the tone, in some ways, is slightly more serious than a lot of MCU stuff. But that, again, has been, recently they're trying to do less of the, the MCU jokes, which I do like a lot of the MCU jokes. Some of them I love. There was, like, they reached a point of critical mass and they realized, okay, this is getting too much. I think probably Thor Love and Thunder was where it was like, okay, this is unsustainable. We cannot keep doing this. A lot of people really hated that aspect of that movie, including me. I'm one of many people. I don't think everything about that movie is terrible, but that got, yeah. So yeah, since that one, not with every single thing, but since that one, they've been trying to do better and not, yeah. And yeah, this is another one. Honestly, there were times where this reminded me less of other MCU, maybe especially animated shows, and more of some of the Star Wars Disney Plus animated shows, perhaps especially something like Visions, although in this one, the art style is consistent across the 4 episodes. But yeah, it's a different art style than you would normally expect. And yeah, they're telling these stories, like there's not zero connective tissue here, but it is essentially just like, yeah, stories of Wakandan war dogs throughout human history. So yeah, this does not have any of the broad. It doesn't get anywhere near as broad with the. There are some MCU style jokes, but they do not get anywhere near as broad. Thank goodness, as What If did, a show that I still hold in high regard. In spite of those broad jokes, not because of them. And let's see, I think that might more or less, yeah. The colors are very vibrant. Again, to quote Nando, and yeah, I really appreciate it because I think people are sufficiently accustomed to a lot of this comic booky stuff. It's okay to go for brighter colors now. In the comics, brighter colors have been the norm, pretty much since the start. And part of that is the when you're looking at a page, if the colors don't really grab you, it might not be, especially like if you look at like really, really old comics, which I love those. I'm not dissing them. Some of them, the art is not necessarily going to grab you the way that more recent art of comic books might. So the colors is a big part of that. And sometimes also if you have a bunch of characters in one place, if the colors are not distinct enough, you can't tell who's who. Let's see. I think that does cover that. The dialogue is quite good. They only have so much time to show through words and actions who these characters are, and they do a really good job of that. The various characters have distinct personalities. Another point Nando made. So yeah, so the direction works really well. We always understand where the characters are at, what they're trying to accomplish, and why. Um, and the let's see, it never gets lost in just spectacle, even though there is very impressive spectacle. The cinematography and editing are really, really strong. Visually, this is one of the best of the animated shows. Um, and honestly, in general, overall, it's one of the best. Now, I think that does pretty well. Yeah, sometimes the camera will like move around very fast to try to keep up with the action scene. Sometimes it will what's the word? It captures the scope and scale really well, and yeah, it's right. So yeah, let's move on. Yeah, it looks like they spent a good deal of money on this. It doesn't feel like they're really taking shortcuts to make it cheap. You know, the way that Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man had the least populated New York that I have ever seen. Um, and the let's see, yeah, the design work on settings and such is really, really well done. Yeah, you get a real sense of the different places, and yeah, the look of characters, what they're wearing and such, works really well to convey things about them. The music is really great. It really works for the tension and also the moments that are not tense. The sound design is fantastic, extremely important for animation, and yeah, they nail it. Let's see. I think, yeah, the acting is great for everyone involved, and they do a really solid job of getting us invested in these stories. That, like, I mean, there's 4 episodes. I think all 4 of them are under 30 minutes. It's not a lot of time to get us invested in a story, but they manage it. Um, and I guess this is a decent enough place to put. They explore some really important issues through. One of the episodes deals with, how do you process what you have to do as a war dog, for example. And yeah, um, the pacing is solid. Let's see, what's the word? It neither rushes nor lingers too long, and yeah, the action is spectacular. This has some of the best action of any MCU. Yeah, I guess any MCU anything. A lot of it is stuff like hand-to-hand combat. We know that is something that, you know, the Wakandans, yeah, the those who work for Wakanda that need to be able to fight become amazing martial artists, world class. And given that it's in part about spies, yeah, it's gonna be more that than something, because they do also have, like, fighter jets, but they're trying to keep a low profile. Do you understand the meaning of the words low profile? It does not mean jets. And let's see. Even though, the Wakandan ones, nah, that's too corny of a reference. Abort. Let's see. Abort the joke. Anyway, yes, so we have the, yes. Yeah, so as far as sci-fi goes, there's also some really cool, obviously there's going to be some vibranium in use here, and they do a good job of coming up with cool things for it to do. And yeah, a number of the fights, they tend to have a real strong emotional core to. Um, it's not just there to look cool. That is something I will definitely say some of the MCU movies could do better at. Although recently they tend to do pretty well at it, but there are some of the movies where it's just there to, yeah, be exciting. Which, I like exciting action scenes, but ideally you want there to be something more. Um, It is a little bit more violent than you might think. Um, I really don't mean to just be quoting Nando. I feel like I hope I'm doing a decent job of also adding to my own stuff. Um, Sometimes it's a bad idea to watch somebody else's review before, because I swear I was going to talk about the violence myself also. Um, I talk about it in some of my videos where I talk about the individual episodes. And yeah, right. The link to the playlist that has my videos on the 4 episodes, where I spoil, each of those. I spoil the episode and the ones before it. Down in the description box, you'll find that link. Anyway, yeah, I thought there was the right amount and good creative use of superpowers and tech and such. It didn't go overboard and take over, because that's another thing. If all we're seeing is stuff that we can't really relate to, then it's like, well, okay, it looks good, but what, so you'll want to have something to ground it also. And yeah, I think that does pretty well cover. um yeah, it feels like they made an attempt to make something that you could watch separately, that could maybe draw in new audiences, because, like, I could see people who don't care about the MCU getting into this just as, like, history buffs, and that is, I do think they do have some really, really cool stuff in here. I am sometimes a history buff, and yeah, I was very happy with the stuff they did here. Um, and yeah, as far as there's some really solid representation here. So far the MCU has done a good job on that. I think every single time Wakandans have shown up in the MCU at all, it's extremely important to try to educate about, African culture and humanize black people, because fascism is on the rise, and we're not gonna, yeah, there's a number of actions that have to be taken to stop that. Um, and one of those is education. Like I mentioned, TV 14. So 14-year-olds can be watching this and get a different perspective than they might get in history class in America. And that's a good age to try to sway them away from fascism. I guess I should briefly say, I hope that it's not going to require any violence to stop fascism. I think that's more up to the fascists. You know, we on the far left are not, you know, like you can look at the stats. You know, we are not as violent as the conservatives. Conservative white cishet men in America are a much bigger threat. And yeah, I think that does bring us. So yeah, I rate this an 8 out of 10. And the yeah, so my ranking worst to best of every single MCU Disney Plus show. So and I do love all of these shows. I'm ranking how much I love them, not whether or not I love them all. So if we're talking overall show / season, Loki season 1, What If season 1, Secret Invasion, What If season 2, Eyes of Wakanda, What If season 3, Hawkeye, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man season 1, Ironheart, Loki season 2, Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, Echo, Agatha, and WandaVision. Finale for ones that have ended their run, Secret Invasion, Wakanda, What If season 3, Hawkeye, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Echo, Ironheart, Loki season 2, Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, Agatha, and WandaVision. And the pilot, What If, Loki, Wakanda, Echo, Hawkeye, Secret Invasion, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Ironheart, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Season 1, Moon Knight, Agatha All Along, Ms. Marvel, and WandaVision. So, yeah, definitely it is a strong showing. I realize that on some of those rankings that I just listed, this isn't rated that, this isn't ranked that high. That's because it has a lot of really strong competition. It's not that, yeah. Anyway, I suppose I should say, when it comes to Secret Invasion, I have major issues with that one, but it just barely inches across the finish line to where I do love at least aspects of it. It's especially the finale I am not making excuses for. And to be clear, it's especially the how it treats this issue of, refugees, demonizing them when we should be helping them. It's more that than the fact that, also storytelling wise, big superhero fight was not the most, like, it didn't feel like that was really where it was going. Like, yeah. Wait, did I already give it its rating? I forget. But certainly, yeah, let's, yes, I rate this 8 compelling stories that we'd never heard before of how Wakanda has always, been very effective at, protecting its interests, until the first Black Panther solo movie saw it open up to the world, which did, of course, also create some problems, as we see in the second solo movie. Out of 10.